Chiefs versus Chargers Part 2 at SoFi Stadium. Sunday Night Football, let's talk about it. Injuries, key stats, and a case for why Isiah Pacheco could have the best game of his short NFL career. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, and I do daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs, so make sure to sub if you're new, hit that like button, all that good stuff, and let's get into this video, starting with an injury report. This is the final one. Chiefs versus Chargers. We're going to look at the Chargers first, then we'll talk about the Chiefs. So they had quite a bit of people on here, but the main ones would be Dustin Hopkins, their kicker, is doubtful. I'm sure they're calling somebody up from the practice squad. J.K. Scott, their punter, who had an illness, he is good to go. Didn't participate all week, but full participant Friday and should be good. The two questionables, of course, they are questionable. The Chargers would never tell us until game time decision if these two are going to play, and that's going to be wide receiver Keenan Allen and wide receiver Mike Williams. Keenan Allen has been dealing with a hamstring injury off and on all season, has re-injured it a couple of times, I believe, and then Mike Williams has been dealing with an ankle injury for a couple of weeks now. So you've got those two questionable. I don't know who plays, and if they play, I don't know for how much of the game or who is even going to be 100%, but I guarantee you they are both going to at least want to play, and they're going to try their best to be out there because it's against the Chiefs. They want to win. This is a must-win game for the Chargers. They're 5-4 right now, yes, but you don't want to fall to the Chiefs in this game. You don't want to fall even further down in the division where you're not completely out of it just yet. 5-4, near 500. You want to come out of this game 6-4. Chiefs would then be 7-3, not too far off from each other. So yeah, they're probably going to play. Now, the Chargers are still hamstrung. I don't know if that's a word. Hamstrung with injuries. Okay, there's a lot. Joey Bosa is out on IR. They have multiple defensive tackles out on IR recently. Tight end out on IR. I mean, there's a lot of people. They are very banged up and not functioning, not moving at 100%. J.C. Jackson, their cornerback, out on IR. Let's just put it this way. It's bad over there, okay? A lot of injuries. The O-line's decimated as well. These guys are dealing with second stringers, third stringers, practice squad call-ups. It's been a mess, and the fact that they're 5-4 in spite of all that says good things about the team, the coaches, and their ability to still get dubs and make it happen. Now for the Chiefs, Mecole Hardman on Thursday was placed on IR. Andy Reid in his presser today, that would be Friday, he said that he thinks, at least as of right now, even though Coach Reid wouldn't elaborate on what the heck was even going on, he said that he thinks Mecole will be back to finish out the season, that it's not going to be a season-ending injury. Now, aside from Mecole Hardman, you have two that are for sure out, cornerback Chris Lamons, wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, and then everybody else is slated to play, but a couple noticeable players. You're going to have Jerick McKinnon and cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. We need to watch those guys because they were limited participants in practice all week. Jerick McKinnon with the hamstring, shoulder, and then L'Jarius Sneed with this knee. And I do think L'Jarius Sneed's knee was bothering him last game. He had a bit of a rough game last week, and I think it was due to the knee, him not functioning at 100%. But everybody else that was on there is good to go. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was scary earlier in the week, but he just had an illness, but he didn't participate Wednesday, limited Thursday, fully participated Friday, and he's good to go. Isiah Pacheco's on there, Andrew Wiley's on there, but they both fully participated all week. And yeah, they will be going. Now, Chris Lamons, a cornerback, he's one of the best special teams aces that Dave Toub has. He says it's going to take a couple of people to fill the shoes of Chris Lamons. And then with Mecole Hardman out on IR and Juju Smith-Schuster out, I mean, that means other receivers are going to have to step up. And you have Adam Teicher tweeting out this today. Chiefs declare Juju Smith-Schuster out for Sunday night's game in LA. Mecole Hardman also will not play. The top four receivers will be MVS, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, and Sky Moore. Coach Reid in his presser today said that the receivers should get similar looks to what they got last week after Juju was out. And if you look at the snap counts from last week, MVS was on the field for 84% of offensive snaps, followed by Justin Watson at 73%, Kadarius Toney at 44%, and Sky Moore at 25%. So that should give you a ballpark of how much these guys will be seeing the field. I would also imagine a receiver gets called up from the practice squad. Cornell Powell maybe, Marcus Kemp. More than likely, he could definitely help on the practice squad, and he was here last season and knows the offense. So I think Marcus Kemp could have a real chance of getting called up, though, of course, I could be wrong and neither of them could get called up. In summary of these injuries, you got to hear this. The Chargers are down 15 players. 10 are starters, 5 of those starters are Pro Bowlers. So these injuries are really affecting the Chargers pretty badly in some areas, though, again, as I said earlier, they still have managed a 5-4 record. The Chargers' schedule, though, has been interesting. If you look at it, they beat the Raiders by 5, lost to the Chiefs, got blown out by the Jags, beat the Texans, scraped by the Browns, barely beat the Broncos in overtime, lost to the Seahawks by 14, snuck by the Falcons by the skin of their teeth, then lost to the 49ers. And every team that they beat this season has a losing record, except for the 49ers, for what that is worth. Now, let's look at the Chargers offense. Last week, Herbert threw for only 5.6 yards per attempt. In fact, his yards per attempt have been under 6 in the last 4 games. That's 30th in the league in average yards per completion, largely due to the injuries of Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, their tight end, Donald Parham. They had another receiver or two injured for a game here and there, and because of that, Austin Eckler has been largely utilized, catching passes out of the backfield. Eckler not only leads the team in rushing yards, but is only 70 yards off from leading the team in receiving yards as well at 420 yards, 420. The crazy part is he's been targeted 81 times. And for context, that's more targets than any receiver on the Chiefs, aside from Travis Kelce, who only has 3 more targets than that. That's a crazy little stat right there, let me tell you what. That just goes to show you why Herbert's yards per attempt have been so low. Lots of injuries there. Their run game has also struggled a bit as well. They are 30th overall in total rushing yards, 30th overall in yards per attempt on the ground as well. Their offense kind of averages out when you look at the passing game and all that to just that. Average. They are 16th in points scored, 24th in red zone touchdown percentage, 17th in first down per games. You get the point. Up and down, but about average when you look at it all. Basically, the Chiefs need to keep an eye, a pupil on Austin Eckler and take advantage of the beat-up offensive line. The Chiefs' defense has been on a bit of a scorcher lately, totaling up 13 sacks in the last 3 games, with Chris Jones getting 5 sacks in his last 4. George Karlaftis is tied for the most QB pressures for all rookies and leads the NFL in batted down passes with 5. And if you zoom out a bit, and look at the season as a whole, through the first 9 games played this season, the Chiefs' defense has racked up 27 sacks so far and are tied for 8th most sacks by any team in the entire league. And for context, last season in 17 games, the Chiefs had 31 sacks total. So they only need 4 more sacks to tie the amount they got last year in the regular season. So that's where I think the Chiefs need to win, get pressure on Herbert as much as humanly possible. They did a pretty decent job last time, sacking Herbert twice, but hitting him 8 different times. They also messed up his ribs a bit in that game, and I don't honestly know if Herbert has been the same since that game. The Chiefs cornerbacks will certainly have their hands full if both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams return, but even if they do, I don't know that either of them will be 100%. Either way, the Chiefs secondary has definitely struggled at times. Listen to this. They've allowed a 101.6 passer rating, which is 31st in the league. They have given up a touchdown on 72% of opponents' red zone possessions, and that's 30th in the league. They've given up 19 TDs, worst in the league, I believe, and have only 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions is not good, putting them tied for 2nd from the bottom, 2nd from last. Now, while those stats alone sound depressing, because they are only giving up an average of 22.9 points per game, which is 19th in the NFL. That's good enough. Most of it's fine because the Chiefs have the #1 scoring offense in the NFL. They have 41 pass completions of 20-plus yards. First in the NFL. They lead the league in third down conversions, red zone TD percentage, average points per game. And Mahomes also leads the league in passing yards, 2,936, and passing TDs 25. So the defense can afford to struggle in areas when you have an offense like that. Though, don't get me wrong, I'm not really knocking the defenses. I think they've played great this year so far, considering the youth, and have kept the team in multiple games because of it. The linebackering unit is great. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Darius Harris has stepped up. And I can't forget, when talking about the D-line, I forgot this earlier, but Frank Clark is returning. So you have the return of Frank Clark as well. All bodes good things. So we know the Chiefs are going to put in work, and in spite of having no McCall or Juju, I think the others will rise to the occasion. For example, you know who led the team in targets last week? Jerick McKinnon. That's right, and it's a trend that could continue because I read somewhere that the Chargers have struggled with allowing yards to running backs out of the backfield, though, of course, when researching this video, I can't find exactly where I read that, so take that for what it's worth. Don't take it as canon. Mahomes will have no problem, though, pulling from Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, whoever, whenever, wherever. He's thrown TD passes to 10 different receivers this year, and just last week, 4 different receivers caught TD passes: Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, MVS, and Kadarius Toney. So passing is no problem. Okay, that's never been the issue. I think the Chiefs are going to do just fine there. Now I want to get, though, to why I think the Chiefs could possibly have a field day in the run game, which is a little more rare, and why running back Isiah Pacheco could have the best game of his career on Sunday. But first, let me give you some context. For starters, the Chargers are giving up 25.3 points per game, which is 29th in the NFL, and their definite weak spot on defense is against the run. They are 30th in rushing yards allowed, 31st in yards per attempt allowed, 27th in rushing TDs given up, and they've allowed a 107.6 rating to running backs. Yikes. They've also allowed 4 rushes of 50 plus yards, which is most in the NFL. Now, with that being said, the Chiefs have seemingly been increasing Pacheco's snaps and decreasing Clyde's snaps over the last few games. In week 7, CEH got 17 snaps, Pacheco 19. In week 8, CEH once again had 17, Pacheco then had 22. And then week 10, CEH had 4 snaps and Pacheco had 35. Last game was the first game all season that Clyde did not touch the ball a single time on a handoff. Meanwhile, Pacheco had 16 carries for 82 yards and a 5.1 yard per carry average. So I don't claim to be a clairvoyant by any means, but if you follow the trend, Pacheco may once again get the nod on Sunday for dedicated run plays and could possibly run for the best game of his short NFL career so far, based on how depleted the Chargers' defensive line is and how hard of a time they've had stopping the run so far this season. I mean, they're at the bottom of the NFL in multiple defensive rushing categories, as I stated above. And with all that being said, I think the Chiefs will be able to get a run game established. Will it look as good as it did against the Bucs? I mean, I sure hope so, but I honestly have no idea. We can't underestimate the loss of Joey Bosa and some of their other defensive tackles, some with the last name that I cannot pronounce even if you paid me. So with all those guys gone, J.C. Jackson gone, Mahomes and the Chiefs, they're going to do their thing. They're going to put up around their average points per game, 30, but I think it's actually going to be 32. Meanwhile, the Chargers put up 23. It's a weird score, I know, but we're going to go with it. Now, of course, the game could always be closer than that. The Chargers normally play the Chiefs pretty well, and their last 3 games have been within 1 score, but that's what I'm going to go with. I think the Chargers' injuries are a bit too steep, and I know that they want to win this game. They have to win this game. They need to win this game. But the Chiefs also know if they win this game, they basically win the AFC West. So I have a little suspicion that Andy Reid is going to go scorched earth this game, open up the whole playbook, dust off some pages we haven't seen in a while, maybe even some pages you would save for the postseason. And I have a feeling the Chiefs are going to do all that they can to walk out of this game with a dub. What are your guys' thoughts on all of this, on my score prediction? What about my thoughts on Isiah Pacheco? Do you agree that this could be Pacheco's best game and he may even run for 100 yards? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?